The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we are syndicated to 12 million additional households across the United States. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten, coming to you live from the Republican National Convention in St. Paul, Minnesota. To my left, Alan Jacey, our political correspondent, who will be helping us figure out what the stories are behind the headlines with his analysis. And you have your opportunity to agree or disagree with us, challenge us, perplex us. That's how this show works. Interestingly, today we're going to have a real convention. Alan, yesterday it was a subdued, abbreviated version of a convention because of Hurricane Gustav making landfall down in Louisiana. That's now just a tropical depression because people heeded the warnings this time, unlike with Katrina, and because the local, state, and federal government was on top of the case, more so this time than they were with Katrina. Most people were moved out of harm's way. There were a minimal number of casualties, although one is too many, of course. And the convention yesterday was focused on raising money for the relief efforts down there, and they are continuing here in Minnesota to do that at the Republican National Convention. But clearly they missed an opportunity, and at the press briefing this morning with Rick Davis, the campaign chairman for John McCain, he implored the networks to give more attention to what was going on at the podium today because they lost that focus yesterday and they felt that they deserved a little more attention today. Not particularly surprising, I would imagine, Alan.
No, not at all. Certainly the Democrats last week, obviously with no climactic problems, they were able to get off their convention and have a complete program. The Republicans are demanding their due. They have every right to ask for that. It's just a question of will they be able to get the mainstream news media to accommodate them at this time. There are, obviously, what you mentioned earlier before the show started, there are some changes to the schedule. President Bush, who was scheduled to speak here yesterday, along with Vice President Cheney, President Bush will be speaking for, I believe it's between 8 and 10 minutes remotely from the White House. And that should be interesting, what he has to say in addressing the convention. We also have some other speakers that were moved around. We're going to have Fred Thompson speaking today as well, who was a potential candidate during the primaries. And we also have, as the closing speaker today, we have independent senator from Connecticut and former vice presidential candidate under Al Gore in 2000 addressing the convention. And that should be interesting that Joe Lieberman will be speaking. 8 years ago, he ran against Bush and Cheney as the vice president potential to, to Al Gore. And now here he is 8 years later speaking to the Republicans. So it should be interesting to see what kind of reception that he gets, because certainly his name was one that was suggested as a potential to be McCain's vice president this go-round. And now he gets a chance to at least state his position and his support for his good friend John McCain. So it should be very interesting to see what happens here tonight.
And Joe Lieberman, the former Democrat, the U.S. Senator from Connecticut, and former vice presidential candidate on the Democratic ticket, turned independent. We are told this is his first ever Republican convention. Rudy Giuliani was scheduled to speak today, but he's been bumped probably till tomorrow. And Sarah Palin, the vice presidential candidate, may speak tomorrow as scheduled, but they said they have just penciled that in. She may not speak until Thursday. Reading between the lines here, and given all the publicity about her candidacy and her family situation, and some questions about ethics involving her interference allegedly in some investigations involving her brother-in-law in Alaska, where she is governor. Reading between the lines, listening to Rick Davis at the press briefing we covered this morning, it seems to me, Alan Chasey, that they are not quite ready to release her to the public. It seems that they're trying to really brief her and ensure that whatever speech she gives will really wow the crowd.
Yeah, well, Gary, she is certainly new to the national stage, and obviously coming from Alaska and speaking to a much smaller constituency. This is her first crack at the national audience, and I would say that this is something that she really needs to be prepped for, and it's probably a good thing that they're working with her to get her ready to really introduce her to the American public and certainly to all the Republicans here. She, like I said, she is new to the national stage, and they want to make a great first impression on Sarah Palin. I mean,